Mr. Carabas, can you hear us all okay?
I just unmuted the audio.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Can you hear us all okay? Before we get started?
Yes.
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 Great. Commissioner Carabas, can you say something? Just make sure we hear you.
Yes.
Great. Awesome. Okay. Excellent.
We can use that, so you guys can hear me. Yes.
Oh. Wow.
We'll start.
It is 6 o'clock.
All right, we will call the August 24th PCDC meeting to order. And if we could do a roll call, please.
Sure, I have Chair Evers, Vice Chair Matthews,
Here.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Here.
Commissioner Finkhauser, Commissioner Carabas, and Commissioner Hunter.
Here. Excellent. With that, we have a short agenda tonight. So the tentative agenda, does anybody want to make a motion to approve that?
Sure. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second that motion.
Great. Any discussion or any changes?
No.
Nobody online? No. With that, we have to vote, don't we? Do I have to be over here to do that? So.
You could just say aye or nay to,
Okay.
to check for office. Yep.
Raise hands on
Aye.
online.
I,
Very excellent. Quickly, we have two sets of minutes. The minutes from the 27th of July, which was just our standard PCDC meeting. Do we have a motion to approve that?
I move to approve.
I second that.
I think you'll so abstain from the
Oh,
vote,
I have to abstain, so.
but we do have a quorum and we have a majority here if you would like to vote. If not, if you want more opinions, you can wait.
No.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions or edits to the first set of minutes from the 27th of July? Nothing online? Excellent. So we can vote to approve. Let's just do a show of hands again. Matt? Cheer. Yes. Excellent. So that's approved unanimously. The second set of minutes is from the joint meeting we had with the Board of Trustees from the 10th of August. So we want a motion to approve that.
Move to approve.
I have to abstain.
So I will, I can second, can't I?
Yep.
Yes, I will second that. Any discussion or edits to that? Anybody have? Anything online? With that, I'd say let's vote to approve that. So raise your hands again. Great, so we have unanimous with one abstention.
Great.
Excellent. With that, which brings us really to the topic of tonight's meeting, which is to discuss the resolution approving a minor subdivision change at 4651 Ute Highway to create two lots from one. And I think we would start with the staff report, correct?
Yes, let me share. Thanks, everybody. Lisa Ritchie, town staff. I'm going to share my screen real quick. I have a really brief presentation just to go over some of the details of the application, and then we also have the applicant who is attending remotely tonight. So before you, we are considering a minor subdivision application for the property at 4651 Ute Highway. The image on the screen represents the lot in its current configuration with the solid yellow outline, approximately the dashed yellow line. Perfect timing. I'm going to pause 1 second for Commissioner Finkhauser to get seated. We're just getting started on the presentation.
Well, We jumped right in and sped through.
So I was just sharing with the commission that this is an application for a minor subdivision. The property is outlined in yellow with the proposed new lot line splitting the one lot into two, shown approximately in the dashed yellow line. The property is currently platted as part of Lyons Village East Replat A. This is lot 2 that was approved in 2020 by the town. You recall earlier in 2026, some of you may recall that we approved a planned unit development zone district for this property. Does not include a minimum or a maximum lot size in the zoning. This lot split, which I'll let the applicant address more if you have questions on this, essentially it continues to facilitate redevelopment of the area. It aligns the new property line more closely with CDOT requirements for future access into the site, kind of so in their conversations with the adjacent property owner, this is advantageous for them. No development is proposed at this time as a direct result of this, but it does kind of further the developability of the area. So prior to any new development, one or more major development plans is still required. So this is fairly technical in nature, this approval. There is criteria in our code that is more outlined in your staff report, but I also have an image of the plat here on this screen, essentially showing, this is currently, as I mentioned, lot 2, the solid line. They'll be creating lot 2A and lot 2B. From that, it maintains an existing access easement that serves the town's property. No other new easements or anything would be established as a result of this plat. It really is just simply creating 2 lots out of 1. So fairly simple. The staff report, and I'm happy to pull that up, walked through all of the applicable criteria. Staff finds that it meets all applicable criteria, including compliance with the comprehensive plan. And we are recommending approval of this. So I'm happy to take any questions. And again, we have the applicant on who I would invite to share some of their rationale if you're ready for that as well.
Yes, I think that would be good to hear from the applicant if there's anything.
Sure. Paul Tamburello here. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I really think the goal of this is to help facilitate a development that Tebow Properties has in mind for the corner. He has had a difficult time, I think, meeting all the access criteria into the site that he wants to develop there with I'm sure it's public knowledge at this point, a Circle K gas station and then a small little retail component. And then he also bought the piece behind the corner with the intention, whether this would be what he ends up doing, some housing. And I think this would really help facilitate access for him to both the corner retail and to housing in the back. So well, we've talked numerous times about it, and he looked at various ways to access the property. I think given the ditches that are across that property right to the west of it, it just makes it difficult, and this will help just facilitate that. So that's what we're doing.
Excellent. Any questions or comments from the commission?
I just have a question on the access piece of it.
Yeah.
Just looking at it and I don't really understand or haven't seen what the CDOT requirements are for access for that parcel.
Yeah.
It looks like what I can see is that there's at least one driveway that services the western part of the parcel as it would be created there.
Yeah, so just pulling up the aerial, currently, so again, this is the Tebow property, kind of this property directly west. He owns essentially this front area as and kind of all the way as it wraps around to the back. The rear property is zoned R3 residential. The front is all zoned commercial. So CEDA has approved what we call planning and environmental linkages, so what we call the PEL, which is the entire Highway 66 corridor from Lyons all the way over past 25, I believe. And that really outlines kind of the future locations for access, but more specifically, they also have a code, which when properties develop or redevelop, they need to come into conformance with a code, which basically establishes distance from intersections, types of access design. And so between the access plan that is approved in the Pell and their actual formal access code, when the TiVo site redevelops, they will be allowed to retain the access at the intersection. And then they will have no other access that meets code along the entirety of that frontage. And the closest point at which that site can gain access from a distance and separation requirement is essentially kind of the existing access point that's near that yellow line. And so that's kind of the reason for this. And so in negotiation with the applicant, I think, collectively, they determined to sell part of that lot. That was their solution so that they didn't have to try and negotiate access and how the eastern lot would be developable. So they just negotiated a potential sale that you can't sell and transact on property that is not platted with platted property lines. So they can't actually formalize the sale and split out part of this lot until the plat is approved. So that's a technical requirement in our code. And so you may recall a number of months ago, we approved a code amendment that allowed property zoned as PUD to be eligible for minor subdivision. So that was in the preparation for this application. Specifically, I think it was a good policy for the town too. So it's to align this property line with essentially this access point here, because all the rest of these are gonna have to go away.
And CDOT already recognizes that.
We've had numerous meetings with
Yeah,
CDOT.
okay.
Yes, so and their traffic engineers again, there's still a lot to be worked out, but this helps further and advance likelihood of development.
Thank you.
Can I clarify one point? And
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, because you obviously are far deeper into this than I am. The Pell, as I understand it, eliminated that access point that you were referring to and only kept the access point on the eastern edge of our lot, primarily because it lines up with the access point on the opposite side of 66. So he is still going to have to petition CDOT to reestablish that access point because currently it's not allowed in the Pell as I understand it. The benefit of picking up this piece is that he's further away from the light, the intersection, which makes it eligible for, I guess, some sort of, appeal process with CDOT. Is that?
No, you're correct. I forgot about that. So the Pell eliminates all those access points except the farthest east one. However, that one that's further west meets the access code. And so what we've heard from CDOT is even though it's not shown in the Pell currently as a right in, right out access, because it meets the technical criteria, that they would consider a right in, right out there through through further development review process.
Yeah.
And I think we feel pretty confident with our conversations that would be successful. Gaining that right in, right out. Yeah, thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. That was a good clarification. Any other questions?
Any question?
I do have a question, Lisa.
Yeah.
And you may have answered this because is it correct that there's a pending sale on this part that's going to be subdivided and that needs to be done? They need to have the security of knowing that this will be subdivided before the sale will go through?
Well, I'll let applicant answer part of that. Technically, our code does not allow sale of property that isn't kind of properly platted. However, people do that all the time. That happens all the time, but this is the proper way to do it. And then I guess I'd look at the applicants if you want to share the status of any potential contracts or timing of sale.
Yeah, that is accurate. He has requested to purchase that portion. And of course, it would be contingent upon, approval of it being able to be split off. So I guess the short answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. And my reason for asking wasn't just to get more information than perhaps we needed, but being new to this and not knowing all the history, I knew that there was plans in that area. And my question was going to be, shouldn't we wait for kind of the big overall plan to decide whether or not this should be subdivided, but I think you've answered my question. So I understand now. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you could wait. I think there's also nothing in our code that would prevent approval of this today based on the criteria and the comprehensive plan. And so I think staff doesn't have concerns, but certainly PCDC could, request that you want to see the larger development, although I don't know that there's a technical basis kind of for that request at this time with our criteria in our code.
Is that, a lot like bias in some ways, like knowing the program before, like our decision today is just, is this legal?
Yeah.
The split,
Yes.
and will it make development possible in lines? And
Yeah.
and then that can be separate from, because there's still, whatever becomes developed, that has to go through its own approval process,
Yeah.
so. I'm just wondering, as like a point of like bias or,
It's a good question.
like, hopefully there would be an abstaining or something, but this is really just about, can we divide, does it meet the
Mhm.
requirements? And is development here good for the town of Lyons?
Yeah, so the zone, we're not touching the zoning, right? This application has nothing to do with zoning other than demonstrating this application conforms with zoning, which it does. So I don't know that it would be biased per se, but the subdivision is a separate chapter in our code. It's distinctly different than zoning and kind of what can happen on a property that's regulated by zoning. So subdivision is much more of a technical exercise in terms of like, does it meet the zoning standards? Does it have provision of utilities? So we don't really have, in my read of our code, we don't really have a basis to deny this application at this point. There's nothing that it really essentially violates by splitting this off. Yeah.
My only concern on that, like, I don't have any real concerns on how I did splitting it off, but the only concern I would have is that we're going to, divide this lot up, and then if there's not, for allowing a subdivision to happen before there's a legally granted access right.
Mhm.
I mean, right now, we're dependent on CDOT, which says they'll probably do it, or I haven't been privy to these conversations. And
Yep.
then maybe there could be a cross-access agreement as
Mhm.
well that could potentially be done.
Yep.
But we would be subdividing it, theoretically prior to any of that access being granted,
That's
which. Again, theoretically, you could end up with a lot that doesn't have any legal access to it.
So that is technically true. We do, we have not secured that. However, I think the property owners and town, find that it has access today, right? So there is an existing access point there today. CDOT looked at this basically and acknowledged in future development will have to comply with the access plan. So we're not approving a lot today that doesn't have access to it, right? There is an access point today that CDOT says doesn't have to go away as a result just of this subdivision. So I'm not concerned about that, as it stands now. But you're right, we are a little premature in the location of where CDOT might approve this in the future. But, and again, go ahead, Paul.
May I add something to that?
Yeah.
That's a great question. The property does have access off of Highland Drive right now. So at the corner, they can access the property. What makes it difficult and why I think they really would prefer this access is for gas delivery trucks, RVs, anything larger that has to pull in there. The turning radius is difficult. And so I think, that's why they're primarily interested in it. And the other thing is that in our conversations with Tebow Properties, they have requested that if they do not get access, that we would give them an easement through the rest of our property, and so they could enter through that furthest most eastern access point, which is what the property would have now if we didn't sell them this. This would, CDOT is basically requesting both developers to do an internal street to Highway 66 to do any development there. So you know, as frankly, to me, as crazy as that sounds, given the future of what I think the Eastern Corridor, hopefully will develop out over time. Um, I look at it as a taking, but that's the situation we're in. And then the other thing is that to line up that eastern boundary of what we're selling with his eastern boundary behind it just really makes that a much more developable lot. The obsolescence of the lot that he has behind it with that weird little chunk out, it makes it really difficult to plan any sort of meaningful housing or whatever he's, ends up doing there. And given that that all lines up nicely, it makes it a much more, developable parcel, I would say.
Having looked at all the other staff documents, it does meet all the other requirements. I was seeing the exact same thing that Paul just mentioned, is that when you just look at it visually, it just makes that T-bill property it opens a world of opportunity in terms of how they're gonna structure, where the buildings are placed, and where the access is. So to me, if it makes it easier for them to start development on that, I'd say it's a good thing. Developments. Agree. Any other comments, questions? So do we need a motion then, I guess?
So technically, you open it for public
Oh,
comment,
that's right.
open the public hearing, even though.
We'll open the public hearing to an empty room. And I don't believe there's
Nobody's online.
anybody online.
Okay,
So we'll close that public meeting. And now, we're ready for a motion to approve that. If somebody wants to do that. I'm to approve. Do we have to read the whole thing? Probably.
no, you're gonna say move to approve, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any second? Any further comments? We'll do a show of hands since Jocelyn's online. So all in favor? Yeah. Was that?
Jocelyn.
Oh, sorry. 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 Did you vote anyway?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. That is that then. So that passed.
Passed unanimously.
Yes. Completely.
So this will be going to our Board of Trustees for consideration on September 8th. So we are grateful to our applicants for continuing to work with their neighboring property owners to try and facilitate town goal of development out here on the Eastern Corridor. So.
Yeah. Can I just say thank you? Because I do think, Tebow Properties has a really good intention to try to move this forward. They've been working on it for a while. Of course, they had that large fire in Netherlands in the building that kind of, got them distracted for a bit. But I'm really excited to see something happen. And I do think this will really help facilitate that.
Right.
Excellent. Any other things from the staff?
Thanks, Paul and Renee. That's all we have for this one. I don't have a specific update for you for any other agenda items tonight. I don't have a planned meeting for. I do have a couple updates, but we don't have a meeting planned. To stop sharing. It would be for September 14th. So we have I have no public hearings or anything for that one. If I do, I'll certainly let you know, but we have nothing planned. Maybe we'll find a time to chat with Chair Evers and the three of us can huddle up and just make sure there's nothing else that we'd like to put on an agenda for a workshop, but nothing planned for now. Just in terms of update for other work, the strategic growth element that we've been talking about, that we talked about a little bit, I actually have the whole document drafted. So kind of the text around it, the map, the example redevelopment scenarios. So I will be circulating that to the boards and commissions in September. So I'm excited about that. It's all the kind of the same context that we've all been talking about, but it's a draft document for their review. And so we'll probably be coming back in again, October, early November to get that back in front of you. And so we've been advancing that. And then just a couple other more broad town updates. There is a wildfire mitigation town hall that the board is going to be talking about on September 3rd at 6:30. So we are, the board would like feedback on different mitigation strategies, potentially including an ordinance that would require every property owner in Lyons to do some degree of mitigation without a trigger of a building permit or doing any other work. So they're gonna be, I think, advancing that conversation, as well as we hope to have kind of a representative from statewide insurance to kind of talk about wildfire mitigation and impacts on insurance, and representatives from Lyons Fire. So if you're curious about wildfire mitigation, encourage your attendance on that September 3rd meeting. So staff is really knee deep in that. So, and the strategic growth element. So I know it feels quiet probably for you all this month, but we've been very busy prepping those two items. So happy to answer any other questions though that the commission might have on either of those topics or just other activities around town.
Be available at emergency management conference
Oh, okay.
that night. Is
Okay.
there gonna be any information that's presented at this time that we can?
Let me check with town administrator and see. I don't know that it's gonna have a formal attachments to the agenda, but if I can share my presentation ahead of time, I'm certainly happy to. Let me check with her though, and I can follow up if we have anything available. Yeah.
So when's the next meeting?
So I think realistically, our next meeting would be September 28th. So I'm guessing we may or may not see you.
If we have anything.
If we even have anything, yeah, again, I don't want to have a meeting just for the sake of having a meeting. I think we'll still be kind of knee deep in the strategic growth element with the referral process for that. So
So for sure, there's no meeting on the
Yeah,
14th.
there's a very outside chance we could have the annexation and PUD application for Planet Bluegrass that night, but that's not looking likely. But
On the 8th or the 14th?
the 28th.
So I can definitely take the 14th.
I would assume we're not meeting on the 14th. Okay. And you'll probably be having some excused absences. coming up.
Say October is probably out for me.
Okay. Mine will be the- Yeah, okay, we'll just stay in touch on those.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Caravas, anything, questions or any comments from you? It's hard when you're online.
No, thank you.
Okay. Anything
Excellent.
else?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
With that, we can adjourn this meeting.
Great.
Very good.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.